Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Beagle,
I'm here.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Present.
Councilmember Behrman,
Present.
Councilmember Gottschall, Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Here.
Councilmember Sharp,
Present.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda as presented tonight. City Manager.
I have none, sir.
Assistant City Manager.
I have none, sir.
Any from the dais? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the public hearing. It's a public hearing to solicit community input regarding the utilization of the 2025 Community Development Block Grant Program allocation. And before I open the public hearing, I'll read the rules to the public hearing. They are as follows. The persons desiring to address the council shall state their name and address. Individual persons shall be allowed 5 minutes to address the council. There shall be no questioning by the audience of the persons addressing the council. However, the council members may question the persons addressing the council, and no person shall be allowed to address the council more than once. All right, with that, I'll open the public hearing. Yeah, you can move it.
Yeah.
Short.
There you go.
Nobody's that tall.
So, thanks for having me. My name is Candy Hovarder. My address is 3128 Brighton Road. I live in Howell, and I'm representing Meals on Wheels today for the CDBG funding. So we request the $5,000. We served 52 frail seniors this last year in the Wixom area, and it was a total of 9,500 meals. Some of them are lonely, and for them, they're the only people that we see is our volunteer every day. So the funding helps us continue to do that. We do send out a statement monthly, and a lot of them can't pay anything. The average amount that we got back from the statement, like per meal, was $1.22. So this money helps us to be able to continue to do that. And several of them state that, like I said, the volunteer is the only person they see all day. So aside from the meal, like we're engaging them, like we're talking to them, like, how's the weather? How are you? How's your cat? Where'd you grow up? That kind of thing, because they might not see anybody, and that's super important for their health to be able to talk. And while we're doing that, we're assessing them. Every day, our volunteers are trained to do that, to make sure they're okay to stay home. That's what we're trying to do, is let them age in place, it's called. And we'll give them resources if we can, if they need something like maybe Habitat for Humanity to help fix something. So we're vital to them being able to stay home there, and as taxpayers, it saves us all money to keep them there, and that's what we're trying to do. We just are glad to be there. It's a good thing. I deliver sometimes, and I think it's fun. We always need help, delivering. We lose people, our volunteers, in the wintertime because they go to Florida, so we appreciate anyone that can help us. We do the meal Monday through Friday. For some of these people, we're their food source, so we'll bring them frozen meals for the weekends. And when we get a grant, usually from the Area Agency on Aging, it's called Ageways, we will give them breakfast as well. And periodically, we bring out boxes of shelf-stable food. We call them blizzard boxes. I'm going to deliver some tomorrow in Holly, actually, but we do it all over. And it's so they have food in case we can't come, because we can't risk our volunteers' safety, like an ice storm, something like that. If we know it's coming, we'll gear up and bring them a frozen the day prior. But this box that we're giving them has like tuna fish, peanut butter, crackers, stuff they can have in the event of bad weather and we can't come. So we would appreciate the money so we can continue to do the good work.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Atkinson. I'm here representing Hospitality House Food Pantry. My address is 282 Hershey Boulevard in Waterford, but Hospitality House is located in Commerce Township. If you don't know about Hospitality House, we operate a client choice food pantry. So that means when clients come to the pantry, they are given a grocery cart to shop the items that they need and that they want. This allows for clients to shop with a level of dignity and also reduces food waste. So clients come to the pantry and they're at either 200% of the poverty level or below, and they can shop twice a month. So some items that you might see at the pantry would be of course, shelf-stable foods. We also like to provide a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables, proteins, dairy, some household supplies, personal care items, things like that. So over the last 2 years, we've seen a 150% increase in our clientele. So we have, over the course of the year, about 2,000 households that come through the pantry that consists of about 5,000 individuals. So in 2024, we estimate that we're going to give out 1.3 million pounds of food. So what that means for the city of Wixom, as of just October, we've served 235 households in Wixom, which is a 43% increase from this time last year. Those households consist of 550 individuals. Just to Wixom residents, we've distributed 130,000 pounds of food this year, which has a dollar value of more than $250,000. So beyond the pantry, we also have the weekend food program. So as most people probably know, in Michigan, students get free breakfast and free lunch, but it's the students that rely on those meals. They may go home over the weekend and there's not food for them to eat over the weekend. So what Hospitality House does is we pack drawstring bags that have the equivalent of 6 meals and 4 snacks, and every Thursday our volunteers take those to schools in the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. So students will get those on Fridays, and then they'll come back to school on Monday fed and ready to learn. So we operate in 14 of the Walled Lake Consolidated Schools, including Sarah Banks Middle School in Wixom, and then Loon Lake and Wixom Elementaries are in the process of signing up as well. So the program is increasing in numbers every single week, and we anticipate about 400 students in the program by the end of the school year. So that's just some information about Hospitality House and the increase of needs that we've seen over the past year or two. So we really appreciate your consideration for the funding. Thank you. Any questions?
Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
Thank you. So you mentioned that the weekend program, and I thought you had said that the school, a couple of the schools had not signed up, so they need to sign up to be part of the program?
Yeah, so we reach out to all of the schools. Currently, we're just in the Walled Lake Consolidated School District, but we reach out to them, and they just need to have like an administrator, a social worker, or something like that sign up. And then beyond that, they just tell us how many students are in need of the program. They can put it in like a newsletter to parents or reach out to parents directly, however the school wants to take care of it. But they let us know how many students that we need to deliver to, if they have any allergies, anything like that. So we've been in contact with those 2 schools, Loon Lake and Wixom, and they're just kind of in the process of getting us the numbers of what they need.
But Sarah Banks, you said has
Sarah
signed
Banks
up.
is enrolled currently.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Thank you. Anybody else for the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to the remainder of the meeting here. Approval of minutes. We got one set of minutes to approve tonight. That's from the regular city council meeting of October 22nd, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Very good. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the regular city council meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence, we have one letter of correspondence today, and that's from the DTE Electric Company, notice of hearing, case number U-21594, which moves us on. Next item is city manager's report. First is the fire report of September 2024. Any questions for the chief? All right. Police report, September 2024. Do we have any questions for Chief Langmeyer? Man. You guys are getting off too easy these days. That moves us on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Very good. I got a motion and a support to approve the consent agenda as presented tonight. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Leads us to the first call to the public. The rules to the call to the public are as follows. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence, and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council, and all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public? Seeing none, I'll close the first call to the public. Moves on to unfinished business. We have one item of unfinished business tonight, and that's a recommendation to approve a second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend Title 9.00, Public Peace and Welfare, Chapter 9.16, Offenses Pertaining to Property, and add a new section 9.16.140, graffiti, and to provide penalties for violations thereof. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. Given the multiple previous conversations we've had on this, I won't kind of rehash the whole thing unless there are any questions. You all had your first reading of this already, so this would be second reading and adoption. If adopted, we would do a publicly notice in the paper that the ordinance has been adopted. It would be inserted into our code of ordinances, and then we could begin enforcing it shortly thereafter. If there are any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Have any questions? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend Title 9.00, Public Peace and Welfare, Chapter 9.16, Offenses Pertaining to Property, and add a new section 9.16.140, graffiti, and to provide penalties for violations thereof. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moves us on to the new business portion of the meeting tonight. New business number 1 is a recommendation to authorize the submittal of the 2025 Community Development Block Grant Program allocation in the amount of $48,527, with $7,279 for public services / emergency services and $41,248 for civic center improvement. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Ms. McGee.
Before you tonight is a standard, we're requesting authorization to submit the 2025 Community Block Grant allocation in the amount of $48,527. As most of you are aware, the Block Grant Program provides funds for the purpose of renovating older homes, revitalizing neighborhoods, providing human services, rebuilding community infrastructure that benefits low to moderate income residents. Qualified projects must be located in census tracts that are occupied by low to moderate income individuals or families and meet HUD requirements. In the city of Wixom, we have 2 census tracts, and they are both in south of Pontiac Trail. Federal regulations concerning these funds requires a public hearing, which is held tonight, and to receive requests from individuals. This year's CDBG allocation, there can be no more than 15% for public services and only 2 projects. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Councilmember Gatchel.
Thank you. For the community center allotment that we're taking, is this the final year of that?
This would be a phase 2 if we do the project. The proposed project is a secondary loop to the current loop that we're doing to the walking path. So it would be a 3-year project. It would be the first
Okay.
year of that.
Okay. And what would the secondary loop be?
It would continue from the current loop, but go around the back of the basin.
Okay. And then I think it may have been last year, not 2 years ago. I know the amount that we can give out has been shrinking and shrinking due to the federal regulations. But I think we had discussed trying to find a way from general fund or something else to donate to more groups or figure out some other mechanism that we can do that. Are we able to do that from general fund, or did we do that last year? I seem to recall a conversation having occurred at the meeting when we were doing this last year, and I don't exactly recall if it went anywhere.
Yes, we did have a discussion about that, but we didn't propose any of that in the budget sessions when we got to those. The one public service agencies we have been funding through the general fund is Leah for $2,500 per year.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. I think I would at least be in favor of doing an amended budget, and frankly, all the amounts requested are below the city council authorization threshold anyway, but I don't know how the other council members feel, but given that it's shrinking and we're taking in more that we don't necessarily always need, I think it would be nice to make up some of the difference if we can. Thank you.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
I support that as well.
Your Honor, the only thing I'd quick say on that is, I don't recall checking into it last time. I know that we do it for the youth assistance program. I just want to double check on that, and I'll give you an answer quickly on that as far as whether there's any stipulations against that or not. And then from there, we can have a council item agenda brought up. I would probably have a council item agenda because it's kind of a legislative direction kind of thing, regardless of the dollar limits. So first step will be to ask the question, and then secondly, if the answer comes back correctly, we'll bring it, we'll put something before council for consideration.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Councilmember Behrman?
Third that, I mean, I agree that all these organizations that have applied are all organizations that need support and support our residents. And the only other thing that but I'm perfectly fine approving the two that are on it tonight. The only thing, I guess, this is the first time I've heard about a secondary loop sidewalk. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm for or against it tonight, but I would just like to have more of a conversation at a different time before we're all in, before, we're paying for engineering for said sidewalk. Because I feel like last time that sidewalk didn't really come to us till we already had engineering drawings. So I just make sure we have consensus up here that we're going to want to do another sidewalk before we allocate 3 years to it. Or if not, maybe, I know we always talk about the fountain needing updates. Can we use that money on the fountain or something else that we're going to have to pay for anyways, and maybe not just creating another long-term liability for us to keep.
The, with something with the fountain, there's several complicated guidelines with the block grant program, and the fountain would not qualify for one of them.
I've just.
But you will have an opportunity at the budget sessions to discuss this project, and these funds can be reprogrammed to another project.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Just
That's
planning out for a 3-year project.
Understood.
To start.
And again, we could something at the Gibson House too, right?
That qualifies.
Okay, so, we have options. We're not approving a sidewalk tonight. Perfect.
Anybody else? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Just a comment, I think, Deanna, thank you, and the surrounding communities, I think you do a good job of, within a 3-year time frame, everybody's getting a little bit of the sugar that's available. I know it's very, very little bit nowadays at 15% of the total allotment, so I know the village of Wolverine Lake, Commerce Township, Waldeck, we do a good job of taking a look, see, making sure everybody's getting a little bit, so thank you.
Good try.
Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mayor. I pretty much echo all the previous comments, including City Manager Brown's. I would like to see it come, if we're going to give money away to charities, I'd like to see it come before council. We have public hearing on this, for goodness sake. I don't think we can just start giving money away to charities without due diligence. So, not that I'm opposed to it, but it's kind of seems like a slippery slope to start giving money away. But I'm open to discussing. Thank you.
Councilmember Smiley?
I want to echo Councilman Sharp's, sentiment on that. Just be careful. It requires, some diligence, and it sounds like we're all in agreement on doing that, so I feel better. So, thank you.
Yep, and I agree. I mean, if we start doing that, then we'll have every charity coming up to us asking us for money, and if we say it once to somebody, we're going to have to say it yes to everybody. So that's a slippery slope, so we need to be careful with that. And I want to thank you, Deanna, for your work on this, and I just wish that what they would just do was say, whatever the allotment is you've got that money and you can distribute however you want, but our hands are so tied on this, and it changes every year. And it's not just us, it's every community, and it just doesn't work very well. And I wish they would just change the system. So with that, any more questions? I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to authorize the submittal of the 2025 Community Development Block Grant Program allocation in the amount of $48,527 with $7,279 for public services / emergency services and $41,248 for civic center improvements. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks again, Deanna. New business number 2 is a recommendation to approve the master plan review scope of work from Carlisle Wortman Associates of Ann Arbor, Michigan for an amount not to exceed $48,750 from planning, special studies account number 101-721-956.481. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item that we had talked about during the budgeting process last spring. The Michigan Planning Enabling Act requires communities to review their community master plan every 4 years. I say requires kind of in air quotes to some degree because there are not direct consequences if you don't. However, at a minimum, that is what the statute says. It also is a best practice. So over the last year, we've been looking into the item, and City Council had made a budget allocation for such a project. Given that we've had a few new planning commissioners appointed over the summer, we kind of, we have not been in a rush on this project. In fact, I think our timing, my opinion is that timing for this is very good. And we've gotten those newer members kind of acclimated to their new roles, as well as an understanding of what a master plan is, what it does, and why it's important to look at it every few years in terms of, what progress have you made on your previous master plan, what direction are you going, and are your goals in alignment with, from a policy perspective. So with all of those points in mind, Carlisle Wortman Associates, our planning consultants, did prepare a scope of work, which is attached, and Mr. Mateo Pasalacqua from Carlisle Wortman Associates is here. He can talk about some of the nuances of that proposal. We outlined a couple of the key things that are intended to be looked at in this process, reviewing the challenges with developing our village center area, specifically the core portions, planning for kind of larger projects such as what happens if and when Wixom Elementary moves, things like that. Those are key things that you can look at during that process, as well as addressing some of the changing kind of trends in land use related to, whether it's office or traditional retail strip centers starting to struggle, or larger retail spaces. So those are all things that we've identified. There will also be plenty of opportunities for City Council, planning commissioners, and the community to provide their input. That's actually a big portion of this proposal, is having community engagement portions to kind of get feedback from the community on what's important to us all as we plan for the future of the city. So with all of that in mind, I will invite Mr. Pasalacqua up. The only other thing I'll say is that Planning Commission did review this proposed scope and unanimously recommended City Council approve moving forward with it.
Good evening, Mateo Pasalacqua, Carlisle Wortman Associates. We are the planning consultant for the city, and I was like waiting for Drew to stop because I'm like, he's gonna take all my thunder. I'm like, Drew takes my thunder, but no, yeah, tonight, so we've presented a scope both to the Planning Commission. We've worked with Drew's department to kind of formulate, what we think would be best for the city, and so that scope's included tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions, kind of a bird's eye view of it as we've broken it out into certain tasks. Task 1 kind of looks at an analysis of the existing, kind of reports and demographics for the community. We kind of start to have internal stakeholder meetings. And we start to formulate the outreach strategies that we'll use in the broader community. Task 2 is looking really at starting that external outreach, developing the structure of the new master plan, and looking at what are we going to update, what can go, what's new that might need to be added, and then starting to actually look at either some specific issues or items that really need to be fleshed out further, and or geographies that need to be focused on a little bit more because we're anticipating certain types of development or certain types of strategies that we want to implement in these areas. Task 3 is the external community outreach, and that outreach is both in a digital and in-person form. That leads into Task 4, which is really taking everything between Task 1 and Task 3 and starting to draft the master plan itself. And again, the master plan will kind of be drafted and presented to the Planning Commission in phases, so it's not just, hey, here's an 80-page document, what do you think? It'll come in chunks, but by the time we're at Task 4, we are starting to look at that larger document and kind of beginning to finalize what it looks like. And then Task 5 really outlines the final drafting and the official adopting process. As Drew had alluded, by statute, you are required to look at your master plan every 5 years and just make a decision on what we have is still good, what we have could use a touch-up, what we have is totally irrelevant and needs to be completely redone. Kind of the bigger items, I would say what's interesting in this master plan for you guys is this is your first run post-COVID. And so we're starting to now come into communities with master plans post-COVID where things we talked about 5 years, things that we're going to talk about now, we weren't talking about 5 years ago. So for us, there's a focus there. There's a focus with the VCA, and there's also a lot of conversations about infrastructure. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Gatchel.
Thank you. Would it be during this review, I think it would be appropriate, but I would just hope that in addition, when we're looking at future projects like Wixom Elementary, and if that is taken down, what does that look like? But another conversation we've had is the few strip malls that we've had that have lost their main anchor pharmacy store, and looking at the redevelopment possibilities and rezoning, repurposing for that. That way, it maybe doesn't come as a surprise, or it's something that we can propose to those building owners. That way we're being a little bit more proactive, because the Rite Aids and CVS's we've lost aren't going to be easily filled, I don't think, and I don't want to see us just turn into a high vacancy strip mall town. So if we can be proactive during this process and have that discussion with Planning Commission, I think it'd be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. I was actually going to say pretty much the same thing that Councilman Gottschall said. Since Wixom came into being in the 50s, as we moved from agricultural to industrial, now we see this shift of the changing face of office space, the changing face of retail, brick and mortar. So I think this will probably be one of the most important sessions, 5-year sessions, in reviewing this. So I'm glad we're taking a look at those things. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. With no other questions, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the master plan review scope of work from Carlisle Wortman Associates of Ann Arbor, Michigan, for an amount not to exceed $48,750 from planning. Special Studies, account number 101-721-956.481. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business number 3 is a recommendation to accept Hubble Roth and Clark's proposal for design engineering services for the Wixom Road traffic signal modernizations and Potter Road rectangular rapid flashing beacon upgrades and pedestrian crossing installation for a total not to exceed $99,225 from engineering expense account number 202-553-974.400 and approve the requested budget amendment. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Very good. Mr. Sickma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep. We, earlier this year, applied for a grant through the federal system and working with MDOT to improve the modernization of lights along Wixom Road, and then also improve the two RRFBs, or the rapidly flashing beacons, on Potter Road. And then we also looked at adding, or we would like to add, an additional beacon on Potter Road to improve crossings at those intersections. So we're going to have a new beacon on, or 3 new beacons on Potter, one at Balcony, one at Beech Nut, and then one on Flamingo. If you remember, that's where we had an accident a couple years ago. So we think that these are all safety related, and that's how we applied for the grant. And HRC assisted us with making this application and has landed a considerable funding source for future use at this. And we would like to have them design this as they applied for the that grant funding. With that, I'd be open with questions.
And we do have a representative from HRC here
Yeah,
tonight too,
Mike
correct?
Garga here
Yep.
tonight, if you have engineering questions for him.
Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the questions I had was on the, the rapid beacons, rapid flashing beacons. Charms Road has a fair amount of foot traffic when school comes in and comes out from students. We don't have any there, do we?
We do not. We have the crossing now at the Airline Trail, but we don't have any along Wixom Road there.
And it might be something to look into for future grant opportunities,
Yep.
because I see a lot of kids cutting that corner, like from where Norton Creek is and coming over to that first house where the sidewalk ends there.
Yes.
And it seems like a safety hazard, especially with parents picking up their kids and texting and FaceTiming or whatever else they do
Yep.
in their car when they're driving.
Excuse me, we did apply for a third grant, a safety grant. We had the SEMCOG Safe Streets for All for just the downtown area, but we also have one that we applied for the entire city. And I'll be presenting hopefully this next meeting regarding that one as well. And that we could tie into that information.
Very good.
Yep.
And the second point was with the traffic signal modernizations that we're doing at our 3 critical intersections. Are we going to be looking at signal preemption and prioritization? Because I know that Novi's added a few more of their crossings and having that capability for our fire and police. And when I watch people's habits, they completely ignore sirens nowadays.
That,
And-
I guess I'll have to defer to Mr. Darga on that one, but that was one of our hopes that we could assist at least.
At least the traffic controllers being capable of that add-on feature if we ever outfit our rigs with it, right?
Yes.
We have applied for in the past, for the controllers at the fire station to even put a new signal there, but that was never awarded. But now that if we upgrade all these signals on Wixom Road, that would give you, more of a reason to put in your signal at the fire station.
Because some of the new signal technology, that's, it's an add-on, and I realize someone has to go up the pole to put the the transponder up there, whatever variety it is, but it's still something we should consider, because I watch people ignoring those sirens.
And all of these signals will be tied into the road commission's
Yeah.
fast track system, so they can make updates.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Councilmember Gaggio.
Thank you. I had a few notes here. Have we done, I know we applied for this, but did it include doing any sort of traffic or pedestrian study along Potter Road at all? Or the ideas for this just kind of came from it, we would like to do it?
Well, we looked at the whole city, did like a crash analysis of all the roads, and these are the roads where you could score the most points and are in need of safety upgrades.
Okay.
That's the basis of the application.
Yeah, similarly to the deputy mayor, thinking about other spots, and I understand, Mr. Sigma, we might have another grant that we can talk about, but there were a few other things, so I won't go through those necessarily, but the new signals, are those going to be, right now, I believe we have crosswalk signals that just constantly flash. Are these going to be ones that are like that, or you have to press a button to begin the signal working?
They will be the push button ones.
So
So
if
they're
no
not-
one's there, they're not gonna be flashing like we
Correct.
have now?
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause right now you kind of tone those out.
Yeah, and that is what I was hoping to hear. And that kind of goes along with, like, on Loon Lake Road near the elementary school, there's one that just flashes, but that's maybe a project for a different amount of money. But then looking at this, the Flamingo one, going back to like sign pollution and lights and whatnot, I don't know that I have honestly ever seen someone crossing Potter Road at Flamingo. I understand that's where Justin was killed and that the circumstances of that were a speeding, reckless driver trying to pass cars, and I don't know that that would have saved Justin at all. I want to make sure we're not, I feel like we've gotten into this habit almost where we're letting electronics replace enforcement, and it's like the electronic speed signs. Those just constantly flash red. I don't see anyone ever slow down to make them green. And I don't want to just keep adding more electronics hoping it is enforcement when it isn't. And so if we don't have people crossing, or a great number of people crossing there, I don't know that it warrants a signal so much as, like, we have people from the village cross back constantly to get to the strip mall. We've had someone get hit there as well, and we haven't done anything about that. I mean, they're all other projects, but I don't want to add stuff that isn't actually accomplishing what we hope to accomplish, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Councilmember Behrman.
So, I had two questions. One, I want to make sure that Deputy Mayor's comments were construed correctly. I think you were asking about the intersections having the technology, so if the fire truck was coming up to it, it knows to turn the light, correct?
They could choose to preempt the signal.
Whereas it sounded like you were talking about adding a new signal in front of the fire station. And so I just want to make sure you guys were clear there that
Yeah.
I think you were on a different wavelength than he was.
Yes.
But he was talking about the traffic controllers also
Right.
being upgraded.
We can talk to road commission about that.
Okay.
during this.
Because I agree with the idea of the current lights being able to turn when they see a cop car or a fire truck or ambulance coming up to it, stop traffic before the fire truck even gets there. I would defer to the fire department on whether or not they want their own traffic light out front. I don't know if that's necessary or not. My second question was regarding specifically the Charms and Wixom Road intersection, because I know just a couple of months ago we talked about doing that sidewalk there, and there's a lot of money in that was included for traffic as well. So is any of this an overlap to that?
No, there is no overlap to that.
Because I remember there was some money in that for the crosswalk there.
We're, with HRC's invoicing, we're billed according to what the work they do. If there is any overlap, we will only be billed once. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, this particular signaling is separate.
I don't know if HRC was in that, what we approved for the sidewalk there.
So,
The sidewalk between Charms, because
The
there was
construction-
money on that for that crosswalk.
and this is primarily just for design of those crosswalks and the modernization of the lighting. What we had approved what we're looking at is the construction of the sidewalks, and that would be a separate item.
I was just curious on how the overlap worked there.
Yep.
If there is overlap, it'd be just concrete work for that frame. It wasn't full push buttons like this.
Understood. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of things. First, I agree with Councilmember Gottschall's points on lights for light's sake. And we haven't figured out how to work the Hawk's Eye yet at the mall crossing. That's a mess. I mean, people just don't know how to use it, both the walkers and the car people. But it's good to hear we'll have buttons. But one of the things that concerns me, because I just got right at the end of our street, and fortunately I can't see it light up, is the speed signal. I know you're going too fast light right at the end of Wexford Drive at Charms. And boy, if that were pointing at me and I had to look at that light flashing all night long or as cars go by, I think it'd make me nuts. And I'm concerned about these big LED, bright yellow flashing lights blaring in some guy's living room all night long. So it's good to hear that it'll only happen when they're being pushed. But will that be any part of the study, the impact on the people that actually live in that area, both in using the crosswalks, as Councilmember Gottschall said, and passive effect of having these lights just shining at them all the time? Because it's probably not so bad if they're not flashing all the time, but I think that would be a safety issue eventually. Somebody would go crazy having lights flashing all night long. You can answer that if I got a couple other points, but let's stop there for 1 second. Is that any, I mean, are we just looking at cars and trucks and people crossing roads, or do we look at the community at all?
You might be able to include what you're talking about, the Safe Streets for All project or study. This here is more straight cars, construction of the signals.
Okay.
So
we know where they're going. Are we just replacing ones that are already there? Or I'm talking like on Belcony and the we'll just upgrade those. Okay. That's the plan anyway. And then a question about the costs that are in there. The grant I see, let's just take number one, $726,000, we match 10% of that. Do we know that's the right amount, or what are we? Because we're preparing bid packet, right? So we don't know that that's a correct amount.
correct. That's a estimate based on past.
Okay. So we could, and the 10%, is that in 2025 budget, Tim, or is it anywhere?
This year.
So this year, 2025.
That will be, we expect that a lot of that would be done in 2026. So we'll be able
Okay.
to balance
So
that
we'll
out
be moving
for
it.
next. Yeah.
Adjusting, put it in their budget discussion though.
Yeah.
But, okay. And then one other, I think, you and I, Tim, have talked about Charms Road at Wixom Road. There, if you stopped and looked at how much is going on there, here we're going to modernize it. I assume we're tearing that thing to the ground and starting over again. Is that the plan? Because there's white cameras that have been in there for 25 years that don't do anything, never did, and they were put at the tops of those poles. Now there's a new camera that moves around and looks at traffic. I assume that'll stay because that's pretty new.
I think you're getting all 4 new poles around the whole intersection.
Okay.
All the existing ones will be gone, they'll be brand new.
That's just one. And then Maple, I assume, will be something similar. It'd really be nice. So when you say the fast track, are we going to control traffic based on actual traffic versus just timed signals?
Yes, how I think it works is they measure how many cars are going by, and then it goes to a program. Time, yeah. Time lapse. So if it knows that there's like 50 cars, every 5 minutes going this way, it'll go to program A, and if it goes down, then there's more coming from the other direction, it'll switch to program B. That way.
So it's semi-smart.
Yes, but
Okay.
I think it can be adjusted quicker.
So at the Potter, let's see, I'm looking at Wixom Road and Maple and Charms. So this is 2 intersections for $800,000, just the construction cost estimate. But you're not sure if that's a complete tear out, or what's the,
It is complete.
complete,
Tear out.
all 4 new?
Yes.
Unless the bid team comes in and says, hey, we think we can reuse the poles. Is that,
That could
okay,
happen, but
all right.
typically road commission wants a pole on each corner, so that way, and then everything will be overhead. If you ever have to run new wire, you can run it overhead.
So when you prepare these bid documents, you get the road commission, we sit down with them, we sit down with contractors, the experts in the field, we kind of mix and match their positions to create the best proposal, affordable, functional, timing, all those things. Yeah, because I'm not as familiar with Wixom at Maple, but I'm certainly familiar with Wixom at Charms, and it needs improvement for sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing in the bid pack. Will we see this again, or will it just go for bid, and then when the bids come in, we'll see it? Is that council seeing it, I mean, in terms of what's being done?
You would see it after it was bid.
Okay.
That's the-
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Yeah, just some points of clarification. The county's FAST system is not instantaneous. It makes very minuscule adjustments based on time of day and traffic volume, so hopefully one day.
Semi-smart.
Well,
It'll
I
happen.
wouldn't go that far. But hopefully, as they modernize their TOC, which I know is going to be done, that they'll start modernizing their FAST systems, so.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to accept Hubbell Roth and Clark's proposal for design and engineering services for the Wixom Road traffic signal modernizations and Potter Road rectangular rapid flashing beacon upgrades and pedestrian crossing installation for a total not to exceed $99,225 from engineering expense count number 202-553-974.400 and approve the requested budget amendment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Tim. All right. New business number 4 is a recommendation and a request to convene in a closed session of the City Council in accordance with the Michigan Open Meetings Act for the purpose of reviewing an attorney-client privileged legal opinion pursuant to and authorized by MCL 15.268H. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion and a support. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Beagle?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman?
Yes.
Councilmember Gotcho? Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp?
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
Yes.
Good. Carries. All right, and that concludes the new business portion of the meeting tonight. We'll move on to the call to the public. I won't read the rules to the public again, but they are the same as before, with the exception you can speak whatever's on your mind. Do we have anybody for the second call to the public? Seeing none, I'll close the second call to the public. Move on. City Manager's comments. City Manager Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll cover what's in the CMO section of the city manager update, and it just was sort of an FYI on a couple things related to our roads. The Road Commission of Oakland County had put out some information to me that I wanted to share with council, one of which was a press release on their plan to build a new administrative building that's going to increase their operational efficiency, combine operations, and centralize operations. So I wanted to make you aware of their plan to do that. And then the second one's from their quarterly report, which speaks to the, I think, their justifiable pride in the safety record of Oakland County roads that are under their authority and their administration in Oakland County. And their safety record on those roads is really fantastic. And it was just a shout out to Managing Director Dennis Kolar and all of the staff at the Road Commission for Oakland County for their good work on that. The second one was related to our roads millage that just wanted to do an FYI at our council meeting about the fact that we appreciate the participation of the voters in the roads millage that was put before them on Tuesday, November 5th. It did pass with a 64% yes vote, and we are looking forward to the opportunity to utilize those dollars that were entrusted to us by the voters of Wixom in the most efficient and effective way that we can and make the most improvements we can to the roads in Wixom. So I wanted to make mention of that. The second item talks about a general election update that I'm going to defer to Crystal, unbeknownst to her, so I'm hitting her on the slide here. So if you'd care to summarize that, I'll let you do it. And first off, I want to say, before she says anything, congratulations to Crystal and all of her staff and all the people that worked the election. There was a lot of noise in the channel, if you will, ahead of time about how troublesome this election was potentially going to be, and I found it to be the exact opposite. It was very smooth, which is a positive reflection both on her leadership as well as the voters of Wixom, I think. So appreciative of both. Congratulations, Crystal, on a very smooth election, and then I'll let you talk about it.
So 70% of the voters turned out for this election. 14.7% of that, so 1,199 voted early at our Commerce Township Public Library. Between the three communities, Wixom, Walled Lake, and Commerce, we joined forces in that. We had 46.8% vote by absent voter ballot, and 38.5% voted in person on election day. So the 70% combined with all those, we had 8,162 voters. So the day itself was very, very smooth, as Steve said. We had a tremendous amount of support from every department, every employee asking us what they can do, council, police presence, DPW. We were prepared. We met before the meeting or before the election and emergency management, and I couldn't be more thrilled with every single person that helped me out that day. And I think it's just a testament to how great it went. And so thank you all very much.
Way to roll with it. I appreciate it, Crystal. Congratulations again on a very smoothly run operation on election day. And we appreciate the participation on the roads millage again, and that's pretty much all that I had for this evening, Your Honor.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
The only thing I had to add was I just wanted to give a shout out to the Wixom DDA. They received, unbeknownst to me until just today, they received the 2024 Michigan Downtown Association's Best Promotional Event for the Wixom Block Party. You'll see a little bit more about this coming up. It was just awarded, I believe, on Friday. But I just wanted to give them a shout out. It's a pretty prestigious award given that the Michigan Downtowns Association is statewide. So I just wanted to give them a little recognition on that, and that's all I had.
Very good. And we'll move on to council comments. Councilmember Sharp.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I want to thank Crystal and Haley and their team for a good election process. I voted absentee ballot, big number, 70% turnout. That's like huge, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never heard of that. So it's amazing. We didn't have any lines. I was another location where the lines were out the door because they thought so many people were voting absentee. They cut back on the number of like precinct workers and all to try to save money, and people were waiting till midnight to vote. So it was not good. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Behrman.
I voted in person, and it was extremely smooth, so congratulations as well. I'll echo that. And then congratulations to Councilmember Smiley on his election, and we wish him the best at the county commission level.
Thank you, thank you.
Councilmember Gatchel.
Thank you. Councilmember Sharp, where were you voting again in person? When you experienced the long lines?
Did not say that. I was at a different location. I'll just say I was where I was watching President Trump's acceptance speech at 3 in the morning here. It was mid-afternoon for me, so no.
Out of state, so there's less likelihood you get caught. We see how it is. I also wanted to say thank you and congratulate the city clerk, deputy clerk, all the election staff, and then voting in person too, seeing DPW staff and everyone there with clipboards to help direct people to the right precincts and everything. It helped make everything go more smoothly. You didn't have a lot of people kind of blocking the table while they fill out their initial slip, and everything was very orderly and smooth. So I do appreciate that, and all of the additional staff kind of changing job roles for the day as well. We talk about our city staff being a family and helping out, and that's kind of indicative of where everybody is as they can pitch in and help out on different tasks for big days like that. So thank you.
Very good. Commissioner-elect Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On election day, we had Mayor Beagle, we had Deputy Mayor Resnick, Tim Sickma, everybody out there helping, make it a very smooth day. And I don't mean to leave Steve out. Steve was out there. You guys, I know you two were there right to the very end, you know, helping people know where to go and what to do. And I don't think, you know, Crystal needed all that help, but she appreciated it anyway. Yes.
I did.
Yeah, we always just, you know, talk about, you know, my run for county commission during council meetings ever, but since it's over, I think it's okay, you know, to thank residents of Wixom as well as Wall Lake Commerce and Novi, you know, that voted for me last Tuesday. By God's good grace and your trust in me, I've been elected to Oakland County's Board of Commissions, and I'm grateful and humbled by the results. My opponent, Dr. Rahman, is a good man, and I've enjoyed you know, working with him here on council, and I thank him for his service to the area these past 2 years. You know, I'm here for the remainder of the year, and you know, which is only 3 more meetings after tonight, so I'll save goodbyes until a later date. Other than that, I also want to thank Wixom for passing the you know, the road millage. You know, there was a millage that was important in the primaries back in August as well. So, you know, these are very important things to, set Wixom up for the future. I'm very gratified. Thank you. That's all.
Councilmember Garland Fox?
I will just echo all the comments that have already been stated. I was here in person, and I did have a line, but it moved very smoothly, very quickly, so I appreciated that. And then also, congratulations to the DDA.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Crystal, Ally, what a wonderful job. It was fun and entertaining, as usual, during presidential elections to be there. I'm glad we were able to all help out. Thank you, the city of Wixom, for passing the millage and for turning out, however you turned out, right, through absentee ballot, early voting, or in-person voting. It's great to see that high percentage of our registered voters voting. And congratulations to Councilman Smiley on election to his new post at the county. So with that, I think that's all I hear.
And I'd like to thank the voters of Wixom for entrusting us in passing this road millage. And now it's up to us to make sure we follow through and make sure that we get our roads back up to the standards of which our citizens expect. And congratulations and thank you to Crystal. Part of the reason why the election was so smooth was Crystal and her organizational skills. Anytime there was something came up, all we had to do was look on the wall. She had a chart or the law or whatever there, so it helped out a lot. But and I really appreciated being there and helping out a lot. And congratulations to Councilmember Smiley on being elected as our new county commissioner. And as we move forward, my plan to replace Councilmember Smiley on the board is everybody here or out of TV land, if you're interested in filling this seat, please either go online and fill out an application or come into the clerk's office and fill out an application. And please do so by December 1st, because after December 1st, I'll be taking a look at all these applications, and it'll give me time to look at them, set up some interviews with the interested parties, get the applications to our fellow council members here so they can look at them and see if they have any questions for these candidates. And it'll allow us to choose one and vote on the first meeting in January to appoint somebody to the seat, swear them in, and we'll get moving, and we won't miss a beat, except for we'll miss Rob, but we'll get things going and move on smoothly. So after that, I think we're going to adjourn right now to closed session. session?
So moved?
Support.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion to adjourn?
So moved? Oh.
A motion and a support. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good night, everybody.